Hi, everyone. This is Professor Trina Gregory. I'm here recording the lab, doing Lab 9, which covers dictionaries for week 12, specifically for my dumpling and Pythoneers. So I'm first going to share my screen. So we are going to share our screens and just kind of first get to what we're going to be doing today. So here we go. The first thing and I'm actually going to use the Pythoneers section since we were just doing that. Move this over here. There we go. So here we go. I have my lab. We're going to read. So it reads a text file and creates a dictionary. This I also think is helpful just to practice file reading because you need to do that for your assignment anyway. So that's what this does. It reads all the words in a text file, determines each word's number of occurrences, also known as the frequency. And we want to use a dictionary to store this information. So as we read this file, we're going to figure out what the words are. Those are the keys in the dictionary, are those words. And then the values are going to be how many times it occurs, which means the first time it occurs, we're going to enter 1. But then if we see, as we read along, and if it already exists in the dictionary, we're going to increase that number. So it's very dynamic. So I have added a poem.txt to Brightspace. So you're going to use that. And then we're going to write 2 functions, read file and alpha print. Our 2 functions, read file and alpha print, and then we're also, of course, going to create our main function as well. And then the goal is to print out, to read this file, create this dictionary, and then the dictionary is going to sort the keys and then print out each key and then the number of times, so that the value in the dictionary, the number of times that word occurred. So you can see that some of these words, and I actually didn't do, there's a lot of words, so you can see there's a ... in the middle of here, but you can kind of see from the beginning of the list, we do an ampersand and then the A's, and then you'll end with the word you, and that occurs 7 times. Okay, so here we go. Here's our lab. The first thing we're going to do is open up PyCharm. And we need to put this file, right? We need to put our TXT in our labs. So I'm going to bring over the web browser here, and we can go to any section. Well, go to your section. If you're dumplings, go to dumplings. If you're Pythoneers, go to Pythoneers. It's under content. So we go to content. Week 11, or week 12, sorry, week 12, and our lab, right? So here's our lab, Lab 9. Click on it, and here you go. See how we have this lab9._poem.txt. So different things we can do. You can right-click and say save link as, and put it right into the directory if you know exactly where it's going to be. Like if I know I'm going to put this into my Pythoneers lab, I could do it just like that. So that's one way that you can add the file into you need to add it into your labs folder in PyCharm. I'm going to show you another way is by clicking on it. And this is CSVs automatically download. You click on it and it just shows it to you. So one way is you actually could copy and paste this, but that's way too much work. I'm actually going to do this as well, is where save link as. Sometimes you can, by default, you can save it as downloads. So, or desktop or something like that. I'm going to save it into my downloads. Okay, you don't want to click on it, right? I actually want to go into Finder, right? I need to either go into Finder or Explorer, right? So if you're on, Mac, go to to your Finder. If you're on Windows, go to your Explorer and find where that file is. So I have that file there. Okay. I need to put it in my labs folder. So you can drag and click and drop it into that folder. So you highlight over that folder. It says, do you want to move the file? Yes. So you hit that refactor button, and now you'll see that it's in that folder. Just like we had the CSV from the lab last week, here we have our poem.txt, lab9_poem.txt. And now we're done with our Finder window. So there we have, and you can double click on it and see it's a text file. So it's a text file. It has lots of, it's a nice poem. I encourage you to read the poem. But now actually let's do our lab. So we did this, we downloaded it. Now under our labs directory, it's called a directory under PyCharm. So here we go. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. We're going to do new Python file, lab9. So here we go, lab9 _ your last name, first name. I do Gregory, Trina, you all lowercase, you do your last name, first name. Then we copy and paste. Always have to have your name in your file. So copy and paste, update your email address and your section. So if you're in dumplings, put dumplings. If you're in Pythoneers, put Pythoneers. If you're watching this from a different section, put your section number. Okay, there you go. Now, the first thing we want to do is define this function. Okay, define this function. What I like to do in your assignments, you have to have comments. So I'm going to demonstrate that by putting comments here, right? So I'm going to put read file. I'm going to put the hashtag for the comments and a space after it. Now I'm going to take these lines. See where it says parameter return value, and then this function, blah, blah, blah. We're going to copy that and paste it. So notice how we copied and pasted it. Okay. And then if you do it with a space after the hashtag, it does it really nicely. There you go. So this is what we want to do. We have one parameter called file name stir. It's the name of the text file with a default value of lab9_poem.txt. There's a return value, which is a dictionary, where the keys are the words from the file, strings, and the values are their corresponding number of occurrences, integers. And then this function will read a text file, count the number of occurrence of each word in the file. That's what it's going to do. And then I do have step-by-step instructions here, and we are going to have to use a nested loop for this. Okay. And if you think about this, it's interesting of what we have to do to make this work, right? So I'm going to kind of spread this out so you can see. So we're going to define our read file. We have the function name. We have the parameter name. We know it has a default value. So we're going to add our default value just like this, right? It has to be a string, right? In the double quotes. There we go. So we know we're going to do this. Now, the first thing, you can read the direct instructions, but the first thing we need to do is create a dictionary variable that is initially empty, right? Because we need to return a dictionary. So we need to have a dictionary that we actually create in the first place, right? We can call this whatever we want to call this dictionary. Maybe the keys are words, right? The keys are words. So maybe I'll just call it word dictionary. Word DICT equals, and there I'm creating an empty dictionary, right? This is an empty dictionary. And this is what I need to return. So I can just come right back down word dictionary. There we go. We're returning it. And now I'm going to fill in the code in between. That way I don't forget my return value. Now it says we want to open the file. Okay, we know how to open a file, right? We call open. We use the file name string, right? And we open it for reading. Now it has a return value, so we capture that in whatever variable we want to capture it in. Maybe I'll call this, oops, sorry, there we go, file in. Just a variable name, but that's going to be my connection, right? That's the connection to that text file. Now, so I don't forget, I'm going to say file in dot close, right? Because I don't want to forget to close the file either. And we have to close it before we call return, because as soon as we call return, we leave the function. So we have to do that before return. And now I can fill in the code here. We want to loop through each line of the file. We know how to do that using a for loop. Use the strip to remove the new line at the end of the file. Use the split to split it into a list of words. Okay, so, right, we've done that before. So let's first do that. So we're going to loop for, we like to use line. It's just a variable name, but it makes sense because when we loop through a file, it goes line by line. We need to strip. Remember, strings are immutable, so it returns a new string. Got to put that back into line. And now we want to split it. And what it's going to do is going to create a list of words on that one line, right? So line dot split. Now, what do we split it by? Well, it's not a comma separated values file. It's not a CSV. We can just use the default. So the default is white space, right? Which is spaces, tabs, new lines. So let's just use the default. Now we have a list of words. But we want to create a key that's based off of one word, right? Not a list of words, right? And a list is not a valid type that we could use as a key in a dictionary, right? Because keys in dictionaries have to be immutable types and they have to be unique. So it says here in the loop, create an inner loop. So we're creating this nested loop to go through the list of words. And then for each word, convert it to lowercase and strip punctuation by using the strip method to remove commas, periods, colons, semicolons, and dashes at the beginning and end of each word. Okay. And you're like, why would I need to do that? Well, let's look at what our home has. Notice that if we get each word, right? If we get a word here and we get a word here, this is great. But then look at good. The word is going to be good, comma, and we don't want the comma. So we want to strip that. The same thing here, like costs is going to be cost with a period. So we want to strip that. And then also like name dash, right? We want to strip that dash. So these are the things that we want to strip. Okay. But first, this is our inner loop, right? This is our inner loop. We want to loop through the word list for word in word list. Then we're looping through our word list. We know that word is going to be a string because it's a list of strings, right? And it said that we need to strip with those characters, right? We need to strip all of these things. I can actually copy and paste this if I want to. There we go. So we're going to strip a comma, a period, a colon, a semicolon, and a dash. Those are the things that we're stripping from each word. And it has to be at each word. Okay? And now we're going to get this clean word. And it says here, right? We need to convert it to lowercase and we need to strip it. Okay. So we want to strip it and we can lowercase it. You can do either one first or last, but what I'm going to do here is just to make sure you really see it. So word equals word dot strip, stripping that, and word equals word dot lower, I'm lowercasing it. Because our words have a mixture of uppercase and lowercase words, but we want, the with a capital T and a lowercase t to be the same key. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we want to put things into our dictionary. And it says here, check if the word is in the dictionary. If it's not in the dictionary, add the word and the number 1. If it's in the dictionary, increase the value by 1. Okay, let's do that. So, and you can do this, you can check to see if the word is in the dictionary or not in. And I've done it either way, depending on what, usually the class will tell me what they want to do. Let's say word, let's say if it's not in my dictionary, which is word dictionary, because that's the variable name I gave it. So if it's not in my dictionary, I want to add it into my dictionary. So that means word dictionary, square bracket, my key is word equals, and I give it the value 1. So my value is going to be 1. Else, because if it is in the dictionary, then I want to take my value, which I can do that by doing that, and say plus equals 1. Can you use that shorthand? Absolutely. Because this pulls out the value. I'm saying, hey, take this value, whatever value you have, and increase it by 1. And it goes back into that dictionary. And that's it. Now we need to make sure to close the file, which we already did, and return the word list. I'm going to put a little note to remind you this is after the for loop, right? Indentation is so important. You got to indent correctly. So got to make sure that that's right. So there's our read file function. Now let's do, close this, Now let's do our alpha print. So our alpha print is going to print in alphabetical order. Alpha print. And again, I'm going to copy and paste from here. I purposely is trying to make this really nice for you to copy and paste, get in the habit. It's always nice to know what I need to do, right? So this function, it has a parameter, which is the words dictionary. It's a dictionary containing words and number of occurrences. There's no return value. It gets the keys from the words from the words dictionary parameter, converts the keys to a list. I'm going to hit return just so you can see more of it. Sorts the list and uses the sorted list to display each word and its number of occurrences on its own line. So that's what this is supposed to do. Okay? That's what this function is supposed to do. So def alpha print, we're going to use our words dict. There we go. So we're starting it out like there. The first thing we need to do is pull out our keys from our words dictionary. I can call this keys, I could call this word keys, but it's the keys out of my dictionary. Those are my keys. Now remember, those keys are in a variable type, right? The variable type is dict_keys, but it contains a list. So we're going to pull it out using list. Okay, we pull out and now we have a nice list. Once we have a list, we can sort the list, right? Now we're going to sort the list. And that's exactly what it says. Get the keys, convert it to a list using the list function, sort the list using the appropriate list method, and then display the following to the user. Okay, I'm copying and pasting that. Print. There we go. Print. Now it says loop through the sorted keys list to print each word on its number of occurrences using the dictionary. Okay, and that's what it's going to look like. So we are going to loop through for key in keys list. Remember, key is just a variable name, but it's a good one to pick, right? Now we can print our key. And we want to pull out the value. I'll put it in another variable. Let's pull out the value from our dictionary, right? This has our dictionary, right? Words dictionary, square bracket, our key. That pulls out my value. So now I can come in here and say, there we go. Print key and value. So the keys are going to be sorted. And then I pull out the dictionary out of the dictionary. And that's it. That is the function. It says call the main function. Okay, call the main function. Define and call the main function, call the read file to create a dictionary and store the return value in a variable. Then we call the alpha print to display the words. Yeah, so there we go. Let's define main, right? So here's our main function. Main functions do not have no parameters, no return value. There's our main. We need to call our read file. It does have a default value, so we can just use the default value, or we can also test it with other things as well. So we have a choice of whether we want to put that or not. We need to capture that. It returns back a dictionary. So I'll call it like poem dictionary equals. Here's my poem dictionary, right? Now I want to call alpha print, and it's expecting a dictionary. Now I don't have to use words dictionary, right? I have to use what is the variable in my main, which is poem dictionary. And then don't forget to call main. So we are going to call main. And now when we call main, we run this, and there you go. It is reading all the words out of our poem.txt, line by line, and then looping, so double looping, right? Getting the numbers, and then there you go. And you can see from the example in here, right? There was an example like good for, so we can actually check. Good for, yep, yay, good was 4 times in that list, right? So there you go. And all lowercase, there is the lab. Again, I'll just kind of run by it again. Here we go. We have our read file. We have our default value in here. We created an empty dictionary. Open the file, right? Open that text file using the open. We made sure this is I can always put some notes in here as well. File in is a file variable, right? That's the type, is file. We close it. Here we are looping through line by line, right? This is looping through the file line by line. We stripped it, we split it, we used white space. This is our inner loop where we're looping through our word list because it created a list. We stripped, we lowered, and then here's where we're putting it into our dictionary. If it wasn't already in the dictionary, we added it in the dictionary, giving it a value of 1. If it was already in the dictionary, we increased whatever value was in there, we increased it. Okay. And then the alpha print just has us practicing taking the keys, converting them to a list, sorting them, and then printing it out. We're looping through the list. So here we are looping through the list, but we're pulling out the values from the dictionary. And there's our main. There you go. Yay, last lab. It's your last lab. Congratulations. And make sure to submit it. So now you're going to, there we go. There's your lab. You make sure to submit it. You only need to submit the PY file for this lab. Do not upload we don't need, for the labs, right? We don't need the extra files. Your assignments, we do, and those need to be in those folders that you create, but you don't need to here. So I'm going to open this up. That's right. I'm not in learner mode. In learner mode, here we go. You can do it under content or activities. So you can do it under either. I will show you activities since that's what's in there. We will go to our very last lab, click on here, and there we go. Add a file, my computer. You're welcome to upload it or drag it. So I know that I created it here in Pythoneers, my lab. All we need is that lab 9. You hit open and you add the lab and hit submit. That's it. There you go. Last lab. Woohoo! Okay, I will stop sharing. Congratulations. Bye, everyone.